Welcome to Trashy Trashy, where we take a dumpster dive on this week's garbage people and look at all the trashiest news stories. My name is Erica, and I am your host.
My name is Cassandra, and I'm your other host. How are you, my darling?
Well, Cassandra, I weigh 0.001 ounce more today than I did yesterday. I got a new IUD put in.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. You know, I was expecting, and now the little bundle of joy is inside of me. Here's some things that happened. The doctor was like, hey, did you take some, ibuprofen? And I was like, absolutely. Feeling good. And then they're like, are you allergic to any smells? And I was like, no. They're like, we'll do a little aromatherapy to put you at ease. And I was like, okay. And by that, I mean, they handed me a tissue. So like a little bit of a wet tissue, a damp tissue that had a scent. And I was like, are you guys going to chloroform me? Because I would prefer that.
Absolutely. I was going to say, like, finally, they're finally starting to listen to women when we say that we should be given anesthetics when we get this procedure done. If you're not a woman, or if you are a woman, you haven't had an IUD done, some people say it hurts worse than childbirth. So hey, the chloroform is a nice touch if they won't just, give us something else.
Yeah. So they chloroform me, but they just gave me like aromatherapy, like wet, damp tissue. Then they put like a numbing agent that they use to incubate people, like the spray that they put down people's throats to like numb them when they have to like, intubate them. They put that all up in my area.
Oh, that's nice too.
They gave me a heating pad that also vibrated. So it kind of distracted me in a way. I was like, it's like a toddler. You know how they give like little kids shots now and they have like a thing that makes a loud popping sound. They were like, we're going to do this for her. It was a very, pleasant experience. And then afterwards, they're like, how's everything going? They talked me through the whole situation. And then the doctor at the end, she's like, okay, put the strings up in here. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, here's an example, an example. I want you to feel the strings so you know what they feel like so you can check for them.
As if.
I just wanted to look, she's such a great doctor. I truly love her. I'm so blessed. But I wanted to look at her and be like, I'm never going to fucking check for this.
Girl, I've had 2 IUDs in my life. I have never once in my life checked for those strings. In fact, the couple times I did check for the strings just because I was like, what could be happening? I couldn't find them. And I was like, well, I've swallowed it. It's in my stomach now. But every pap smear I got, they said, then I can see your strings. And I'm like, you okay?
Okay. I'm just going to nod my head and be like, okay. But she's like, just touch him. And I was like, I'm never going to fucking.
If you're a woman who listens to this podcast who has an IUD, this is a safe space. Reach out, trashytrashypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know. Have you ever actually felt your strings? Because I'm pretty sure no one does.
And then they turned off the lights when I was done and get like mood lighting, left me with the heating pad and was like, just take your time. Just whatever you need. And they just left me there for like 15 minutes.
Man, I swear to God, when I got my first one done, I was at a Planned Parenthood, and this is no shade on Planned Parenthood. Girl, when it was done, I was like convulsing, shaking in so much pain. And they're like, hey, so the janitor's going to be here in about 10. Can you get out of here? Because we got to shut the lights off and lock the doors.
Same. I also got my first one, the copper one at a Planned Parenthood, and the doctor called in 2 other people for a second opinion.
Bitch.
And I was like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I just need my colleague to like, just a second opinion. And I was like, but like, there's 3 of you now. What's wrong with my vagina? And all we learned from this is that they need to put more funding into Planned Parenthood because this is a call for funding to Planned Parenthood. Because I asked my new doctor and I was like, yeah, last time I had this done, here's what happened. And she was like, no, like nothing to see here. Just
yeah. When I got my second one in at Kaiser, I was like, oh, this is kind of how that went down. And they were like, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. This won't be much better, but you can rest assured that we're at least going to check and make sure it's in the right place because they don't do that at Planned Parenthood. They pop it in and then, they're like, are you going to clock on or are you going to get out of here? And then at least when you go to, the health insurance funded places, they'll at least put an ultrasound to make sure they put it in the right spot.
The first one, come to find out, I had just like such problems since I had it put in. And when they removed my first one in April, this doctor was like, oh God, this was like cutting your cervix. This is like bad. Like you've been living with this? And I was like, yes. I didn't know.
It's just crazy. Again, this is not us. Yeah, you have to fund them. This is not us throwing shade. No. We went to Planned Parenthood because I can only speak for myself, but I've known you a long time. We went to Planned Parenthood because we couldn't afford health insurance at the time when we got this done. And this was our only option. Yeah. As much as we couldn't afford a baby either, this is what we got done. And it was the free option, and you shouldn't be getting what you pay for when it comes to medical help in the United States. So I'm super glad that you had a nice experience with this one.
Yeah. I mean, I barely a heating pad when I got home. I was like, I'm going to do it just because I want the sympathy from Winston. I'm like, of
course, yeah.
Heating pad. But I felt, help me. I'm so little. Well, make me tri-tip. I'm so sick. But I was like, I feel fucking fine. I'm great. Like I have nothing today, no pain. I was like, oh wow, what a difference. But shout out to my doctor. Truly, if you want the name, if you're in Los Angeles, I will give you that name.
I'm glad that you got like a numbing agent. I have not heard of anyone getting that, and it's been the biggest mysteries of like, is there really the things that like you can get your mouth numb and some laughing gas for teeth cleaning, but you can't get a little bit of numbing agent when they shove a T-shaped
apparatus
through your cervix, like just raw dog it in there.
Yeah. No, people don't love women. Like medical, like just the world hates women, it seems. Now this lady was like, it smells like cherry. That's the only downside. You're right. That's the only downside, is that it kind of smells like cherries. But anyway, it was such a magical experience. And then this whole week has been, I'm going to say it, gold star social media Twitter week.
It's been a crazy week, and we have something very special coming up for you listeners. So do not turn this podcast off. I know we've been talking a lot about IUDs, but you gotta just keep listening, because it's been a big week and we've got some stuff coming. But first, I have to ask, Erica, why are you trash?
Okay, Cass, I'm gonna take it to further gynecological health, right? Okay. So I moved to Los Angeles, I think like 2010. I know exactly when I moved here. I moved to Los Angeles in 2010, and in 2012 I went to New York late 2011 or 2012, I went to New York with one of my dearest friends who has been on this podcast, Garrett Andronastis. Mm-hmm. And we were staying with our lovely friends in New York. They're so kind and generous and hosted us. And I had broken up with a guy. And so we were no longer dating, and we're walking.
Okay, brag.
Brag. And so we're walking in the streets of New York. We're shopping. We're Sex in the City. You know what I mean? Just like
totally 3
gals and a gay, just going out in the world, and full Sex in the City-ing it. And I get a call from said ex-boyfriend. And so I'm like, oh, I'll answer it, whatever. And he calls to tell me that he has HPV and that I probably have HPV. Now, I had not had the HPV vaccine at this time, which everyone under 26 should absolutely get, because HPV can lead to a cancer. I don't remember all the details, but it's bad. Bad. Everyone has a little HPV.
Every girl, I remember it came out when we were in high school, and all of a sudden they were like, you need to somehow schedule yourself for 3 separate shots or you're destined for cancer, because men are carrying around this HPV that literally does nothing to them and literally could
kill you.
Fuck your life.
So again, society hates, like geology, evolution hates women. So he calls me and he tells me he has this HPV.
Crazy.
I know almost nothing about like biology, sex ed, any of these things. Again, this is like 2012. This is like, we're just starting to talk about, this vaccine and all this and whatnot. So I drop to my knees on a New York City sidewalk, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm freaking out. I'm just like,
your friends are like 525,600 minutes.
They're full in New York. They're, 52nd Street. They're all these things. I dropped to my knees and I'm like, oh my God. And like, what happened? And I'm like, well, he has HPV. And that means I probably have it. And like literally everyone looked at me and was like, well, everyone has a little issue. You're fucking fine.
Yeah.
Immediately go, I get a schedule. I don't somehow have any of it, which I'm like, what does that mean, sir? And then I get the vaccine, the 3 courses of the vaccine, etc.
Yeah, the 3-course,
the 3-course dinner that is the HPV vaccine. But I mean, I dropped to my knees in the middle of a fucking New York City. I remember the outfit I was wearing. This beautiful light teal skirt that was like a really thick material. It was very 2012, and like this like satin orange long sleeve, like crossover on the top. It was so, and probably very chunky heels.
And probably chunky jewelry too.
Oh God, I probably had a statement necklace on. I can't remember.
You were probably giving your business casual best to go out.
God. We were all,
that was 2012.
I didn't have a blazer on, but that would have been the final piece of like.
Did you have a peplum top?
Practically. Oh my God. I just remember being like that. And then those, like, my friends were all just like, you're fine. No, this isn't real. And I was like, okay. And then like, again, as soon as I got back to LA, I was like, let's get it popping. But it was just so.
That guy just wanted to talk to you.
I think he just wanted to talk to me. And then, yeah. But I'm just saying everyone should learn about their bodies. Like sex ed's so important. Biology is so important. I just think we should teach people proper things about their bodies. It's so important. And I had no idea and had the world is ending moment in New York City. Anyway, just full trash, just complete trash and dirty New York City knees.
Fun fact, there's an episode of Girls that's very similar to the story that you just told.
When that came out, I was like, this happened to me.
It's very possible that maybe a young Lena Dunham watched your freak out and said, I'm going to use that on girls.
All adventurous women do, right? Isn't that the thing she said?
Yes, all adventurous women do.
Oh my God. I'm gonna hit her up for royalties. I'm like, bitch, cut me in. Anyway, why?
Good luck.
Forgot about I do remember watching that episode of Girls and being like, this is me.
Yeah.
Oh God, if you were a millennial, Girls just hit a millennial woman. Anyway, Cassandra, why are you trash? Let's stop talking about my vagina. Why are you trash?
Well, here's the thing. This is more why a person I encountered was trash, but I am trash because I didn't do anything. Here's what happened. We were up in NorCal for a wedding, which I'm just going to say it. I don't really like Northern California.
Ooh.
I have friends who live in Sacramento and I like that area enough, but the Bay Area, girl, you're just not for me. You're just not for me.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying it.
It is, it's trashy. But you know what? We don't always use trashy as a negative connotation. So
truly,
it just, I don't know.
For me.
She's not for me. So we were up in Sausalito, which is like, a little, I don't know. I'm in some NorCal shit. I can see San Francisco from Sausalito and it's like a beach town or whatever. We're grabbing a drink at Sausalito's infamous dive bar, who I don't know the name of. And 2 gentlemen come in sweaty. And this is like daytime, by the way. This is 1:30. I'm on vacation, so I'm drinking all hours of the day.
Of course.
And the day of the wedding too. They walk into the bar and they're all sweaty and they kind of try, like, me and Taylor are on the corner of the bar, and so then there's one seat to the left of me, and so they plan on grabbing that seat and then taking it elsewhere because there's just no room for them at the bar. And Taylor goes, hey, we can scoot one over if you guys want. And they're like, oh man, that's really nice of you. So then this guy offers to buy us a round of drinks and whatever. So we're chatting with these people now, and I accept those free drinks. We are like, we're in town for a wedding. It comes up that we just got married, whatever. The guy goes, oh yeah, congratulations. I've been married for 28 years. And this man looks like he's maybe in his early 40s, but he's like, I've been married for 28 years. And I go, oh, wow. And then he goes, well, to be honest, I measure my marriage in dog years. because my wife is a bitch.
No.
I swear to God. And I am, that meme of like where all the formulas start going in front of someone's head, that's what happens to me. Cause I'm like,
oh my God,
do I tell this guy to fuck off?
Right.
And just be like, cool, thanks for shutting down this entire conversation. Like, fuck you. Do I laugh politely because he's buying our drinks?
Right.
Do I what do I do? And I opted for like, what? And like his buddy laughs. Taylor can't stop laughing. He thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. I'm just kidding. He did not have that reaction.
Doesn't sound like Taylor at all.
No. But then he's like, sorry. Yeah, that's a dumb joke. I don't know. And we kind of just like moved on. But here's the thing. Is that this man turns out to be very three-dimensional. And this is the story. It's not quite how I am trash, but how people are three-dimensional. Because although he is the same person who says that he's been married for 28 years because his wife is a bitch. Also, throughout our long conversation, the four of us, if I would start speaking, but then I would get cut off by someone else, because four people chatting, like it's just bound to happen. It's not like anyone was being rude to me. He would literally stop and go, now, what were you saying about this? So he was like very much like making sure that I wasn't interrupted and always kept checking in to see what I had said. So I was like, what's your deal, man?
Anyways, your deal?
Him and his buddy they had walked from San Francisco where they live to Sausalito, which is about 9 or 10 miles. Like that was like a thing that they do like once every few months. So they were just done this really long walk. And I don't know, overall, I mean,
people are so multidimensional.
People are interesting, aren't they? Like
this makes me think though, that this feminist, his wife actually is a bitch. Like that's what I'm hearing.
Wow.
I can draw no other conclusion. This man was making sure you were taken care of. Like, sure, he respects women. His wife just sucks.
It was so confusing. Anyways, is that why I'm trash? I don't know, but I needed to talk about it.
It's amazing. I found a tweet that really summarizes this week.
We're teasing them, but say the tweet, babe.
Okay, so it's from Movie Silently, and it's a silent movie, Twitter account. And it says, if I had known this entire week would be a throwback to the 1910s, I would have worn a bigger hat. Rich people dying on the Titanic, an uprising in Russia. If someone launches a Zeppelin, I'm buying a hopple skirt.
It's been a wild week.
Oh, stuff's coming. But
wait, before we do that, we got to close out Pride Month.
Happy Pride. Of course. We have to celebrate.
Pride Month, she's almost over. And so we're going to do our first story from thepinknews.com. And it's a pride story because hallelujah, the mafia has dropped its ban on homosexuality.
Finally, we've been picketing. They've gotten our letters.
This don't ask, don't tell policy in the mafia is bullshit.
Our change.org petition finally was heard by the Dons.
Yes, well, kind of. Turns out, actually, the Italian mafia has opened its doors to gay men for the first time because it has emerged that a mob boss's son is living as a fabulous drag queen.
This is from thepinknews.com, a great source for LGBTQIA news. Mobsters risk being murdered if they were even suspected of being gay. But once the fiercely homophobic mafia has now evolved with society, an anti-mafia investigator in the southern region of Calabria has revealed. Nicola Grari told The Times that although homosexuality is still too taboo among older bosses, the mafia has relaxed its rules to permit gay men in its lower ranks as long as they don't parade it in public.
It kind of is interesting. First the Pope and now the mafia. The Italians are really catching up. It's pretty soon we're going to find out that Mario and Luigi are boyfriends.
Brothers? Yeah, right.
Are they brothers? Oh, right, because it's Super Mario Brothers.
It's a Bert and Ernie situation if I've ever seen one.
I would, well, maybe it's more of like a William and Harry situation, and maybe that's wrong, but like Toadstool, famously bisexual.
Famously. Fungi are all bisexual.
You know, they're here with the times.
History will call them roommates. And if you don't know what that is,
then you're not a lesbian.
Sorry, you're not a lesbian.
So, you know, this is nice, I guess. I don't totally, you watch reality TV.
Yes.
How do people get away with being mob wives? Like, isn't that like obvious? Like, if you're identifying as a mob wife, or in this case, like a drag queen whose dad is in the mob, can't people go like, oh, okay, so caught you, you know?
Sure. I feel from my understanding of the amazing docu-series Mob Wives, which I've watched every episode of probably 5 times. Essentially, you know, so some of them are the daughters, the granddaughters of famous mobsters, or married to the mobsters themselves. And essentially, I mean, it's just like anything where it's like, I'm not in that business. That's my husband. I'm not doing that. That's my dad. You know, so it's like you can have pride of them, but the cops really can't. Like, that's the thing about organized crime. It's not smash and grab. You know, it's not, oh, you're holding the brick for your husband. It is really to, you know, the RICO laws to bring down organized crime. It takes a lot, and there is such a code of behavior and honor amongst those families and sects of the mafia that, yeah, I mean, like, there are people that have written open books like, yeah, I'm a mob boss's daughter, you know, but they're not, I mean, no one's hiding really that they're in the mafia. That's the thing about that particular sect of organized crime, or like a lot of gangs are pretty like, yeah, I'm a member. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I watched an amazing like series last night. It was like a Dateline about an unsolved murder from like the 80s. Oh, no, sorry, the 90s. And it was a bank robbery that happened in Thousand Oaks. And they know for a fact that it was 2 members of the Crips, but they don't know. It's still an unsolved murder. Like, they don't know exactly who it was. And they were interviewing like an older gang member that's like, no, I'm still in it because like, this is the brotherhood. Like this is like the group of people I know. These are my friends. These are my family. These, you know, my first pair of tennis shoes were bought to me by a drug dealer, like, you know, a member of the Crips when I was a kid. Like, my parents couldn't afford it. Like, schools, priests, like the YMCA couldn't help me, but these are the people that did contribute to my community. And a lot of times, like, this comes in an absence of control, you know, like all the factories shut down in Los Angeles, and now like 70% of certain like communities are unemployed, thus the rise of crime. Like, you know, people are well resourced, this doesn't happen. But it was really interesting listening to this guy. He's like, yeah, I don't rob, I don't murder, I don't do any of these things, but I'm working to bringing unity for all these communities and to like stop this part of the killing. That's why I'm still a member of this gang, because I want to work to make things not this way. But they used to just do a lot of drug dealing. That was like the rise of like the, you know, a lot of the organized gangs, especially in LA. But when Point Break came out, the White Surfer movie, Catherine Bigelow's masterpiece, Point Break, they were like, oh shit, we should just rob banks. And it was like a blueprint for how to do it, which is crazy. I mean, it's true. Like the I think like 7 banks were robbed a day for like, after Point Break came out, and like in Southern California. It was crazy. And like the ones that are closest to like highways and roads are more heavily patrolled security wise, but the ones that are, you know, let's say a little offset from the road or not super close to a freeway are going to have less security, just, you know, distribution of like odds. And so they were fucking robbing banks based on what they saw in Point Break.
I didn't expect to get a lesson in the Crips.
You know what?
Today, but
that's why you tune into Trashy Trashy. I'm sorry, I just sounded like a monologue.
I feel better for it. And the moral of the story is you can be gay in the mafia. Let's move on to our next story.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Hey, have you ever gotten mad at your partner for something they did in a dream?
Oh my God. Yes. Have I told the story of how I punched my sister because of what she did to me in a dream?
That sounds really familiar, but I want to hear it again.
So my sister, she's 5.5 years younger than me, you know, apple of my eye, love of my life. So she's a baby, you know, she's like 3 or 4. I'm 8 or 9, you know, 5 years age difference. And we're all in bed with my parents. It's like a Sunday morning. We always used to come in and sleep with our parents in the morning, stuff like that. And so my dad, my mom, staring at their beautiful daughters, just sleeping Like, oh, look at these beautiful creatures that we have. Oh, we made these,
Sure, sure.
In my dream, my sister had just punched me hard.
Oh.
So my body, I'm like, kind of laying down. My body just rears up a fist and just hits her hard. She's sleeping. I'm sleeping.
You sucker punched her?
Completely sucker punched her. But my parents are sitting there just being like, oh, look at these beautiful, can you believe they're so perfect? And we made them. And they witnessed me just punch my little sister. And then they're like, what are you, of course that she starts crying. She wakes up. My parents are like, why'd you do that? And I'm like, she hit me. And they're like, no, we were sitting here watching you sleep. She never hit you. But in my dream, she had. So yeah, I haven't been mad at Winston as much as I was hit my little sister while she was sleeping because of something that happened in a dream. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, well, from apnews.com, this man allegedly had such a vivid dream about an intruder coming into his house that he accidentally shot himself in the leg.
Jesus Christ, gun control now.
Yeah, so this is a suburban Chicago man who's facing firearm charges after he told officers he accidentally shot himself in the leg while dreaming that an intruder was breaking into his home. Now, it's not illegal to shoot yourself in the leg. What's illegal is the fact that this man had a state firearm owner's identification card that had been revoked, and he still had a gun. So he had a decision to make when he woke up. He probably made the right one, I suppose, of like, I still have this gun and I've shot myself in the leg and I'm losing quite a bit of blood. How am I gonna explain this off without them being too mad that I shouldn't have this gun? And I guess this is what he chose.
I mean, you got to make a plan. And like when you make a lie, commit, if you just continue to double down, sometimes people won't call you on your shit, but they absolutely did.
I feel like, first of all, if you are a sleepwalker, at least get a gun safe, you know? If this is true and this man actually had a dream where he had an intruder and he walked over to a gun and then shot himself in the leg thinking he was shooting an intruder, you need a gun safe. But let's just say that that's not true and he was like cleaning the gun that he wasn't supposed to have.
It went off in my hand.
Yeah, like something like that. And then come up with a better story. Like I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, and I'm certainly not going to tell you how to break the law. But let's say maybe you call the ambulance and go, I've been shot in the leg. Someone has entered my home through the door, which I left unlocked, and shot me in the leg, forced me to hold the gun and said, hold it, you little pig, took the gun from me and whipped it into my front yard.
Yeah.
That's about as believable, I'd say.
How rude to call somebody a little pig.
That's why I'm saying it's a little, it's like, it's the details, the specifics. Too many specifics, it's obvious that you're lying. But if you have a couple specifics, it just might be true.
Yeah. And oftentimes, the bigger the lie, if you lie about something little, people are like, oh, bullshit. But sometimes the bigger the lie, truthfully, the more you can get away with it. That's why my parents, the king and queen of Moldova, always, taught us honesty was important, so.
Yeah. And the wolves that raised me were the ones that taught me that, if you're going to lie to the police about a gun not being yours, you have to make sure that you explain why your fingerprints are all over it, not theirs. And that's where the whole hold it, you little pig, hold it. Now give it back. I'm wearing gloves.
If I ever... God forbid I ever am around. I'm knocking on wood, but if I'm never, I never want to be like in a gun situation.
No.
But if I am, I want to use the phrase, you little pig.
I'm a writer, and I guess
poetry.
Maybe if I'm going back to edit my story a little bit, maybe it's a man came through my door, which I left unlocked because again, there was no,
of course,
the cops looked around. They said there's no proof that there was burglary here, which the guy was like, did you check my dreams? But
roll the footage on the dreams, roll the footage.
Hey, that's very Black Mirror-esque. But maybe it's a man entered my home because I left the door unlocked like a goof, wearing gloves, had a gun, tried to rob me. I tried to fight the gun from them, which is how my fingerprints got all over it. Mm-hmm. They shot me in the leg, freaked out because obviously they didn't plan on shooting anybody.
No.
Left the gun, ran.
Yeah.
That is more believable, I think, than I had a dream.
I picked up the gun to when I made a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. I picked up the gun to make it, I tied it around it so it would be tight. That's why my fingerprints are on the gun.
I picked up the gun because I thought if I shot myself from the other direction that maybe it would cancel out and
it would push the bullet out.
But then once I realized that was crazy, I dropped the gun again and I ended up calling you. Like whatever it is, but not, I watched Monsters, Inc. last night, or I watched something scary and then I had a dream and then they came into my house and then I shot the intruder. Like, what do you have? Like an Oculus on? Why are you shooting at your leg if that's the intruder? It doesn't work. I have notes.
Well, this has got me worked up. And you know what?
Let's take a break because you're all worked up. But listeners, you're gonna want to stay around, because when we get back, we got something special. Erica, do you have any concerts coming up?
Always. I'm a festival girly, I have to get the VIP though, because I cannot go without an air-conditioned bathroom.
Okay, well, my sweet angel, planning for faster and efficient hydration is also essential for festivals. And Liquid IV has you covered while you prep before, power through that headliner, and recover after the weekend.
Hey, now don't count yourself out while you're drunk poolside all summer, Cass. Liquid IV hydrates 2 times faster than water and with 3 times the electrolytes than traditional sports drinks.
I mean, we really have no excuses. Liquid IV is actually standard in my purse. It goes phone, wallet, keys, Liquid IV.
And with flavors like lemon lime, pastique, that's French for watermelon, and my favorite, strawberry lemonade, staying hydrated is easy peasy.
Mama, I'm talking B3. I'm talking B5. I'm talking B6. And I'm screaming from the rooftops, B12.
They've got all the Bs.
And there's a little bit of vitamin C in there too, just for kicks.
Oh, she's made from premium ingredients and is free from gluten, dairy, and soy.
Oh, thank God. I'm vegan now. I don't know if I've talked about that yet.
We know. Okay. Get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code TRASHY at checkout.
That's 20% off of anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code TRASHY at liquidiv.com.
Honestly, we're so trashy, we're hydrated.
Wet trash. Welcome back. Well, trash cans. As Erica has already teased, this has been a big week for trashy news.
Basically, stories are fighting to be the biggest dumpster fire of the week, the trashiest, the most this week. It's been a knockdown, drag out MMA fight.
And it was so big, in fact, that we had to profit on this. And by profit, I mean, of course, we had to change the format. So let's get ready to rumble.
It's a dumpster fire pay-per-view event. 3 dumpster fire worthy stories back to back to back.
We couldn't pick one, so we're giving you 3.
Oh my God. First up, these billionaires want to fight each other. Literally.
Yes, from MMAjunkie.com or USA.com or anywhere. All of these stories can be found just about anywhere. But have you heard that Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg have proposed that they would like to fight each other MMA style?
According to UFC president Dana White, who is a piece of shit, both guys are absolutely dead serious. 2 billionaires enter, no man leaves. Fingers crossed.
So in an interview with TMZ on Thursday, Dana White said that he's probably spent an hour and a half on the phone with the world's most high-profile tech billionaires and found out that neither of them was joking about this proposed cage match stemming from social media. They both were like, yeah, I want to do it. I want to do it. Is he serious? Yeah, I'm serious. Is he serious? Well, my dick is 7 inches. Well, my dick is 8. Well, mine is 9. Actually, I just double checked. Well, mine is 10 because I was using a weird ruler. Like, that is the energy right now.
Truly. It's like, I don't know. Let me ask him. Like, Dana White's literally playing like 8th grade phone, like sleepover phone games with them.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear what Elon said about you, Mark Zuckerberg? And then you tell them, and then they talk shit. Mark Zuckerberg talks shit. And then You go, well, you've been on a 3-way call the whole time.
That's exactly. And both of them are just writing in their diaries, like, I'm in over my fucking head and I hate this, but I feel like if I back down now, then everyone's going to realize that I'm actually just a butthole. So this is the initial exchange. The CEO of Twitter, Elon Musk, said, I'm sure Earth can't wait to be exclusively under Zuck's thumb with no other options. And then people on Twitter said, hey, be careful. Mark Zuckerberg, he's been studying MMA because I guess that's what, you're the CEO of Meta or Facebook and you have nothing better to do. I think Mark Zuckerberg has gotten to the rich guy stage of learning how to fight in deathmatch.
Musk said, I'm up for a cage match. If he is, LOL.
And so Zuckerberg was like, send me a location.
Vegas Octagon, Musk responded, adding, I have this great move that I call the walrus, where I just lie on top of my opponent and do nothing. That's also how he has sex. All those kids that he has, that's the walrus. Musk is very good at the walrus.
So, and it seems like the walrus thing is kind of like a joke, except for the fact that like Mark, because everyone's saying like Elon Musk is bigger, but Mark Zuckerberg has legitimately been learning how to do jujitsu for a year. And so it seemed like it was fake, but yeah, Dana White, that MMA piece of shit, is like everyone's taking it very seriously, and that Dana White's like, I'm willing to build an entire card with some really fun fights, and Musk and Zuckerberg would be the pay-per-view headliner. And of course he's saying for charity.
For charity.
Sure, Jan.
Dude, this is what I wouldn't do to just like slip one of them like a razor blade under the octagon or whatever.
I'm pretty sure that both of these men combined have enough money to like fill up every charity ever. Just by the way, like dude, without fighting.
Do you remember the thing where Musk was like, how much money would it cost to solve world hunger? And then like legit, oh my God, it was like oh my God, some organization that like literally takes this on is like, oh, exactly $6 billion. We could build this, the infrastructure, we could do this, we could get the distribution, blah, blah, blah. And then Musk was like, oh, I'm never going to pay that. Fucking little worm.
Even though he has it. And then some to still fund generations of all of his 11 or whatever kids. Anyways, so Dana White was like, they could both pick a charity to donate, and we could, donate the proceeds from the pay-per-view that would cost probably $100 because everyone will want to see it. So you're still making, this should be free. This should be free. Why would you make this a pay-per-view? Why do we have to pay to watch these idiots wrestle each other? What, for charity? Are you joking? Are you joking?
Are you joking?
A laugh?
You having a laugh? They said that the largest event was Conor McGregor boxing Floyd Mayweather in August of 2017. It was the second highest selling pay-per-view of all time with 4.3 million buys domestically. So White figures that number would probably triple watching Musk and Zuck. Those fucking names, like those are everything about the syllables, like Musk, Zuck, like I just hate everything about it. Like it's not even knowing their personalities behind it and who they are as people. Their names anger me.
It's a little harsh. And I just think if these guys want to fight each other, like put Netflix a live event on the case.
Yeah, they can handle a live event.
I just like, I can't. If they want to fight each other, cool, like do it. I hope you both get super hurt, but sorry, I do. And you'll learn more why as we keep going in this episode. But
I hope both of them try to master the 5-finger death punch from Kill Bill or something.
Yeah.
And then they simultaneously learn how to, they both attempt it at the same time.
Honest to God, the thing that offends me the most about this is just the fact that it'll be a pay-per-view event and that you're literally still putting it on the low, middle, and even like a higher, but not as high as them class to pay to watch it for charity. Dude, fuck off.
What I want, genuinely, Dana White, hear me. I know you're a big listener to this podcast.
Totally.
Dana White, recreate the Coliseum, host this fight, but then also throw in some lions, throw in a bear. Like,
sure.
But don't tell them that's going to happen. If you really want to put on a show, make the Colosseum happen again. Christians fighting lions type days. Like, bring back old Rome. Like, I want to see Zuck and Elon like try to build like a submarine for themselves to defend themselves from like a wild bear.
By the way, Dana White, who, if you don't know what he looks like, he kind of looks like what you imagine the stomach of a goose would look like when it's been foie gras.
Oh my God. I'd never seen him before.
Yeah. It's jarring.
This is animal cruelty, having him just walk around.
He looks like a bald man version of a turducken. And
that's a face not even a dog.
He is worth $500 million at least, just him. So just, for like put it on the free channels that everybody gets if they just plug a cable into a wall. Do not make this a pay-per-view event, you dickheads. Like, anyways, whatever. We got another round of dickheads for our second dumpster fire event.
Now entering the ring, the fake Shein influencer trip.
From the Daily Beast, The Cut, a lot of places, Shein has been sending influencers to promote its China factory. If you Google this, I just want to put this out there. If you Google this, Shein does a lot of things with influencers, and there's a lot of different options of trips that you can take. They even have their own little private jet that is made on the backs of slave labor.
Absolutely. Also warning, Temu, which has taken over advertisement. It was heavily advertised, I believe, at the Super Bowl. It is another Shein, Alibaba type fun shopping app. The UN Watch has just issued a watch that probably all of their stuff is made by slave labor. So be warnful of it. But yeah, Shein flew a bunch of American influencers to China to see their warehouses and their, supplying. And, the people quoted were like, I expected this facility to be so filled with people just slaving away, but they weren't even sweating.
Let me ask you something, influencer. If you expected the facility to be filled with people slaving away, why did you go?
Did you want to see that?
Do you want to see what you get paid $2,000 a post to promote, or what? First of all, like, spoiler alert, this whole thing turns out was a crock of shit.
I mean, oh my God. Like in the old Looney Tunes cartoons, when the coyote would have like or the Roadrunner big, like an inflatable train. And then all of a sudden the coyote was captured inside of it because it was like a balloon. This is what this whole thing was. So it's
the big cardboard cutouts of
the old
Hollywood. Yeah, like painted to be perspective, but then if you keep running at them, you hit the wall. Yeah, so these influencers, if they were even taken to China at all, they were taken into...
Right? Did they just drive them around in the sky for a minute and just plop them back in like Detroit?
Did they even get on planes, Erica? Or did these influencers... Like, look, they had to have known what they were doing. Here's what happened. They went to essentially fake factories.
Yep.
Took a bunch of photos, talked to fake people. Yeah. I mean, this is like North Korean shit.
That's literally what I was thinking. And one of the influencers that's mentioned, and she's the video that's mostly circulating around. We're fed so much propaganda in the United States. And I spoke to people. They answered sincerely and like earnest. You spoke to propped up actors.
They said, there's no kids working here. They told us that their kids want to be online just like us.
Yeah.
Girl.
They got to go to some of the factories and also the innovation center. And it's just truly, I'm not going to like point you in the direction of these influencers to come find. Like, you can search it yourself. We don't want to give them more views, but one of them said, I was really excited and impressed to see the working conditions. I was able to interview a woman that was worked in the fabric cutting department. And you guys know me, I'm an investigative journalist. I'm like, who is she? Trashy?
I know. So I had the same thought.
And I was like, okay. So I asked her all of our questions and she answered them honestly and authentically. She was very surprised at the rumors that have been spread in the US. She told me her family, her lifestyle, her commute, her hours. And I'm like, the script she was fed. I mean, this is just like the jury duty show. They improvise.
Yeah.
And this, if she asks you this is what you can say,
It's
at night, they got to take a cruise on the Gangzhou River and see the skyline. And no, this is bad.
It's not good. There has been a lot of actual investigative journalism that's been done by actual news sources that have proven, like beyond a doubt, look, hey, I'm not going to lie. I've bought from Shein. You bought from Shein. But once this stuff started coming out, I stopped because it wasn't sitting good with me. And if you haven't stopped buying from Shein yet, that's on you. But
it's the workers' conditions. It's their pay. It's the ethical implications of all of this shit ending up in a landfill. The fact that they rip off small designers and don't credit them. There's so many issues.
A newspaper found in reality that Shein workers sometimes are working 7 days a week, with workers making what comes out to about 556 American dollars per month to make 500 pieces of clothing daily. Even if you've ever received a piece of Shein clothing, you know that these influencers are full of shit, because it's a complete gamble. The whole gag of it that everyone does, because nothing fits consistently and nothing is this consistent quality, because they've got tons of factories in tons of countries that will make children work on it, and slave labor. You buy 17 pieces with the intention to keep 2 because you know that 15 of them are going to be shitty. This is paper clothing that you're wearing.
Yep. There are one NGO in Switzerland found that they work 75-hour weeks in shops that have no emergency exits with barred windows. So, this is triangle waste fire waiting to happen. And I found a really interesting report about how Shein makes the sheer volume. So let's say H&M, still fast fashion, but H&M can make, let's say, 25,000 articles of clothing in a year. Shein is putting out like close to 5,000 articles a day. What they do though is, let's say they make 100 of a sweater, a purse, a shoe, whatever. They put it on the website and then they see how well it's selling. So they might only make 100 of something that's like fucking hideous, which most of it is. They might make 100, and if it's like, oh, it's not selling, then that's it. But if that sweater starts selling and people are adding it to cart, then they'll ramp up scaling on that particular item. But they're still making the initial products. Like, they're still making shit that's never going to get bought. There is a clothing company I found I believe it's called Finesse. And what they do is they just put essentially digital images of things. And if they get enough people that are interested, add it to cart. And it's kind of like a Kickstarter in that way of, hey, we made this coat. Like, I have this pink coat from them. And they were like, if like 1,000 people want this coat, we'll actually produce it. But otherwise, we're not making new material that's just going to get dumped if nobody wants this thing. So, that was kind of the interesting thing for me, was that like, oh, that's kind of an ethical way to do fast fashion, because you're not actually making the thing yet. But yeah, this is garbage. It's
a lesson in, you have to do a little bit of you can't, there's just barely any way to keep your side of the street clean when it comes to shopping at this point. Hard. Because unless you're literally only shopping in thrift stores, it's tough to, I love buying stuff from Old Navy. That is also fast fashion. I think what you have to do is just, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And Shein has some products on there that definitely seem too cheap and too like on trend to be, it's too good to be true. And so it is. And you just have to put on your thinking cap, because what's a bummer is that when you try to buy things that are made ethically and locally, you pay for it.
Yes. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard, but it is our responsibility. Like, all of these clothing end up in landfills. There's an investigative journalist called Susan Bailey on Twitter, and she found the video that one of the main influencers from this trip. And here's my only issue with the everyone picking on this particular, and like, her video is the one that popped the most. And she is like a plus size woman. And where some of the other girls on the trip weren't like fully women of size. So she's been fed some bullshit, and she's promoting their bullshit 100%, but I do feel like they are picking on the heavier girl more than any other. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. It is a weird thing, but this journalist, Susan Bailey, has 20 years of experience of visiting fashion manufacturers, specifically in China. And she basically tore apart the video step by step of how fake this factory is. So, there's lack of safety signage. There's no fire escape signs. Even though this thing looks pristine and new, there's no fire extinguishers.
There's no dust.
There's no dust.
It doesn't look like a place that's actually been used ever.
At all. And some of the girlies, they show one of the fabric cutters in the video. And she's like, excuse me, how can you only afford to cut one garment at a time? Bulk fashion production means cutting through several layers of fabric to maximize efficiency. So it's all just staged. It's fully North Korea propaganda, staged bullshit. So anyway, I just thought that was super interesting. Then this particular influencer whose video has made the most rounds, she put a response video out because everyone's been, ripping into her. And she's a plus size white woman. And she starts it off and she's like, I am not the one. And she just really goes into like a pretty deep black accent and defends herself and like the stuff that she did in the video. And I saw a tweet that I don't know, a lot of problems with all of it. So stop buying from Shein.
Erica, we got one more. We've got the main event coming, but right before that, let's just take another quick break.
Guys, this week has been so jam-packed with trash. We had to cut some stuff. So we're just going to read out the headlines to tell you what we had to cut to make room for the content this week.
Because this is also just too trashy for the podcast.
It's stuff that we had to cut it's too trashy, but this is some stuff we cut.
Ontario man accused of taking selfie with terminally ill patient charged with harassment. We cut that.
Japanese cafe waitress fired for pouring her own blood into a cocktail.
We cut that.
Bebe Rexha hit in the face by a thrown cell phone at a New York City concert.
That's infuriating. So we cut that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene explains why she called Lauren Boebert a little bitch.
We don't want to talk about these women, so we cut that. But I'm done teasing about it because
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
It's time for the main event. It's time for the OceanGate submarine.
Y'all, if you were alive this week, you probably heard about the OceanGate submarine that went to explore the Titanic. Every news source in the world was covering it. Reuters, The Telegraph, CNN, TMZ. I think the Comanche County Chronicle was covering this thing. That's the newspaper in my home county. It's a weekly edition.
Sure. Everyone's talking about it. And we're no different because we are a legitimate news source. So we'll just really fast, let's talk about, it's a submersible. And she went missing during a tourist expedition to the Titanic's wreckage. And then on Thursday, they were able to, because for a hot minute, they were like, it's got 36 hours of oxygen left. And we're, search and rescue, trying to find these people in this submersible. And then finally on Thursday, they were like, oh, they gone.
They probably knew they were gone the Sunday that, like Father's Day, the Sunday that it went missing. That's the infuriating thing. It's like they're like, oh, we heard a loud bang and then lost contact. And then even the U.S. Coast Guard, a 8-figure rescue went into this, like at least $10 million. But the Coast Guard has basically microphones in the ocean. Like everything is the U.S. government is listening everywhere. And they're like, oh yeah, we knew that Sunday, but didn't tell anybody. So then everyone had this morbid fascination with like, how much oxygen do they have left?
So OceanGate Expeditions designed this Titan to carry up to 5 people to the depths of 4,000 meters, which is right about where the wreckage of the Titanic sits. And it weighs 21,000 pounds. It can travel at the speed of 3.5 miles per hour using electric thrusters. And it's got LED lights, sonar navigation, high-end camera equipment, and a single itty bitty porthole for you to see in case you don't want to watch everything that's going around you on tiny TVs.
Titan's carbon fiber walls are 5 inches thick, and the vessel is capped at each end with a titanium dome
bolted from the outside.
So
you need people to help you get out. It was operated by a video game controller, Bluetooth video game controller.
Bluetooth.
And
I'm sorry, it's not even wired in. There's so many things about this story that make me so frustrated, so mad, so mind-blowing about the facts of this, but you're going to trust Bluetooth at 13,000 feet under the water?
Bluetooth, they don't even make headphones that you can swim with. Like Michael Phelps and all those Olympic swimmers, they have to play that shit in the pool. You know, when you're working out on your treadmill, listening to Cardi B or whomever you like to listen to, they don't even make that for swimmers at 24-hour fitness.
Sometimes the Bluetooth in my car doesn't even always connect.
So
that's just one thing that just is a stick in my craw, you know?
It's very frustrating. It's also frustrating. I mean, I'm just going back to what you were talking about with how expensive this search and rescue was, which I have a little bit about this farther down, but when you're talking about how expensive this search and rescue was, everyone was also talking about the fact that even if they did find them, that they are too deep. Like at the speed that these things move, they're too deep to bring back up in time and to a place where you can get them out, like bolted out before they're going to run out of oxygen. Yeah. So like it was literally not going to happen. It was not going to happen. What should have happened was that these OceanGate people called and said, hey, we lost contact with our people who went down to the Titanic. And then the Coast Guard said, okay, then that's okay. We will, we'll send our Coast Guard trash crew out there on Friday to go and check this out. Because by the way, it imploded. This was the most humane way.
1/20th of a second.
It happens faster than your brain even registers that
Something's
anything
wrong.
has happened at all. So the most humane way that these 5 men could have died. Let's talk about these men. We've got chairman of Action Aviation, Hamish Harding, billionaire.
Yes. He sells aircrafts to Fortune 100 companies, heads of state. He's a British businessman. Forbes noticed that he's not included on its list of world's richest people. He was also one of 6 people on Jeff Bezos' own Blue Origin's mission last June, where they flew to the edge of space.
He was on the penis rocket. You also had Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son, Suleiman Dawood. Shahzada was the vice chairman of Dawood Hercules, which is an investment and holding company based in Pakistan. He's part of the Dawood Group, which is a family business that for more than a century, this business is a century old, and heir to one of the Pakistani's largest family fortunes. So billionaire's 19-year-old son.
Which I feel bad for 19-year-old son, because he reportedly didn't want to go, was scared, but wanted to go because it was Father's Day and he wanted to make his dad happy.
We have Paul Henry Nargoulet, who is known as the Titanic's greatest explorer. He's led 6 expeditions to the ship's wreckage. And I think he was quoted on Twitter of saying that he was probably going to be on the only one that went in 2023 because of like they were predicting that the weather was never going to be good enough to do this. And I think he was right. I don't know if anyone else is going down there. And then, of course, we have the CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush, who has been quoted a lot lately about his antipathy or towards his, what's a word that I can actually pronounce?
Lack of his antipathy of regulations.
His disinterest of safety regulations. He has a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering and then a master's in business. I'm going to need those to be the other way around before I'm going to get on anything you built. That's scary. Yeah. These tickets were $250,000 a piece for these people. So I'm assuming that the CEO didn't pay for his own ticket. There was at least $1 million to go down there. And you might be asking yourself, are we bad for making jokes about this? I mean, I even considered it when they thought that they were down there banging and had 30 hours left of oxygen. I was like, man, I really wish that we could talk about this on the podcast, but does that make us bad people?
Well, listen, no. I know that sounds horrible. There wasn't as much attention to the Greek migrant crisis that happened where over 300 Pakistani immigrants died, 300 Pakistani migrants died on a sinking ship. It had less search and rescue media attention and overall fucks given by anyone where they actually had a chance to be saved. But there are physiological, sociological, biological, and logical reasons why you're not bad for making jokes about this, or why you've seen so many jokes that have been happening about it.
Yes. So it turns out, as if you didn't already know this from the bottom of your heart, it is not possible for the average person to feel a sense of empathy towards billionaires, because empathy is primarily a trait based in community. So evolutionarily, it's a valuable thing because it helps us people build societies.
That's why if you see someone yawning, you typically, if you have empathy, you typically yawn as yourself because you're seeing your community experience something. So if you care about the people around you, they are more likely to care about you.
It's not a human to human experience. This is a human to community experience.
So that's why maybe some of the, shootings that we see, especially in the US, don't get the empathy they deserve. Because if your community wants guns, you're not going to care as much about a community calling to get rid of it till the "it happens to you" thing kind of happens.
So that's all that is to say. Billionaires are not part of your community. They're not part of anybody's community.
Nope.
So how could you feel empathy for someone who the first thing that people do when they get that type of wealth is they try to distance themselves from communities and society because it makes it easier to control and exploit people whose labor you're stealing to make yourself rich?
No one earns $1 billion. It is all built on labor exploitation. Billionaires are basically a crime against humanity. And just for perspective, because I feel like a lot of times billionaire is just not, the number is so large, it's not seen. So just to know, for how long it would take you to become a billionaire? Let's say you are trying to save $1 billion and you are able to save at 100 days, $100 per day, tax-free, tax exempt. So $1 billion divided by $100 saved per day is 10 million days. 10 million days divided by a calendar year, 365, is 27,397.26 years to reach $1 billion.
So you don't live that long. And
304 generations of your descendants, if you all live to 90 and all save that $100 a day, it would take you 304 generations to save up to that $1 billion.
Have there even been 304 generations of humans yet?
Who can say? Because the Bible says it's 6,000 years old, but then science says it's something.
Maybe there has been 300. Who's to say?
Knows?
I don't know.
We're not math or science.
Billionaires hoard resources and they create artificial scarcity for the sole purpose of increasing their wealth. So it's deeply counterintuitive and self-destructive to have empathy for something that is openly trying to cause you extreme harm. Yes. Sure. Like I'm calling you out, girl. Have empathy for the 19-year-old, I guess. But
billionaires cause you harm by using the product of your own labor in the cruelest way possible to exploit you. The more they make you suffer, the more of your labor they can hoard.
And the worst part is that they're not even using it for themselves. They're hoarding, they're stockpiling this money that we work for. The rare occasions that they do spend it on themselves, such as buying a $250,000 ticket to sit crisscross applesauce in a metal death trap, it's impossible to empathize with them.
So essentially that $250,000 ticket to a billionaire, just a 1 billion, is essentially, I saw a great girl on, say you make $50,000 a year, which is more than
average national, or maybe it might even be above the average, to be honest.
So buying one $7 iced coffee, that is 0.0017% of your total income. The $250,000 ticket to a billionaire is the same as buying 1 3/4 iced coffee at the $7 rate. So it's not even a drop in their bucket. It's the way you would buy a coffee, them to drop $250K, $250,000. That's 65,616 school lunches.
So all we're saying is if you want to make a joke, you should make a joke because
go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because if you're feeling like you're a bad person for thinking for 1 second that wasting $1 million of taxpayer resources to find these 5 idiots was concerning and stupid, you're not a bad person. You're probably right on the money. Because do you think that any of these billionaires' families are going to foot the bill, the $10 million, $11 million bill? 3 countries were looking for these people. The United States, France, and Canada we're looking for these people. And don't forget that Erica said there was 300 people who died off the coast of Greece who could have been saved, who we didn't all go help. You think that those billionaire families are going to foot the bill for this?
Hell no.
Probably not. It's probably going to end up in your taxes.
And this isn't a new phenomena. Like us, Twitter is a relatively new, like the access to social media is relatively new. The jokes are just getting better and crisper. But there are articles from April 25th in 1912, where actual news articles that were published that someone quoted and said,
when the Titanic went down.
When the actual Titanic went down, it was kind of the Titanic to provide a ballroom for the mermaids. That's from the Evening News in Pennsylvania in 1912. Like, this isn't a new phenomena. Like, but
rich people drown themselves, and you don't need to feel that bad. Obviously, when they were running out of air, it was really hard to be like, God, that sounds like hell. That sounds really bad. You know, maybe you can have that human to human. I'll admit it. I was like, that sounds bad.
And people were saying, well, what if that was a member of your family? And I was like, bitch, it's never going to be a member of my family.
You know what? Speaking of their families, we've got we can't close out this submarine gates or ocean gate story without talking about Mr. Hamish Harding's stepson, who has absolutely taken this and rode it to the moon and then crash landed on Mars.
From the tab.com. There's a rundown of everything that the submarine billionaire stepson has said since he went missing. Now, when I was reading this and I heard stepson, and I followed a lot of this on Twitter as it was happening, I was thinking, oh, like, this must be the behavior of like a 19, maybe 22-year-old. Mm-hmm. This man he is older than I am. He is in his late 30s. He is 38 years old. Just keep that in mind while we talk about everything that's happened. So
I keep it in mind, girl, it's giving 38-year-old billionaire stepson, to be honest. All of his behavior feels right on the crosshairs of what I would expect.
This Brian attended, after confirming that his stepfather was on the missing vessel, he attended a Blink-182 concert. And people grieve in different ways. I absolutely understand that. Like, everyone thinks everyone's grief is different, but, everyone handles things in different ways. But he tweeted to members of Blink-182 saying like, hey, I'm at the concert. My dad's on that missing sub. It might be distasteful being here, but my family would want me to be at the mentioned Blink-182 concert show, as it's my favorite band and music helps me in difficult times. Black heart, prayer emoji hands.
He then tweeted again at them saying, I'm devastated, but I'm coming to the San Diego show tonight so you guys can give me hope and cheer me up. Respect to Blink-182 that some billionaire stepson still can't get those backstage passes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
feels a little desperate. So people on Twitter were obviously like blowing him up. And he was like, what do you want me to do? Sit at home and watch the news? Not sorry. This band has helped me through hard times since 1998. Look, dude, if you're going to go to the Blink-182 show because that's honestly how you're coping with this, rather than like just looking for like a thirsty way to get that inheritance, you don't have to do it on the internet. Like, it's just like so stupid. So then Cardi B gets involved.
God, our Avenger.
So she goes on and she just kind of posts a video basically saying her message is, I would rather be broke and know that my friends and family were at home crying and like sad for me than be wealthy and have like a family member post about going to a Blink-182 show, like, and act like this. And this guy just absolutely could not help himself. He responded, he slammed Cardi B as if she was trashy.
Bitch, that's our world.
Stay out of our lane, Brian.
So he tweeted shortly before deleting his Twitter entirely, Cardi B trying to get clout off me and my family's suffering. I went to the Blink-182 concert for coping rather than sitting at home and watching the news. Shame on you, Cardi. Get some class.
You know, before he deleted Twitter, though, he did have time to flirt with an OnlyFans model. This OnlyFans model named Brea tweeted an image of her in her underwear with the caption, "Can I sit on you?" Which is great marketing if you're an OnlyFans model. I have, like, good for her.
Yeah.
Make your bag, girl. But then he quoted the tweet and said, "Yes, please." And then everyone on Twitter was like, my guy, literally 3 countries are looking for your dad who might have 21 hours of oxygen left. And you're, yes, please. No.
He tried to clarify and be like, oh, Brea's she's my online friend. I always talk to her as if they have a playful back and forth. I always talk to her like we have a playful back and forth.
Yeah, you mean you give Brea a lot of money and so that you think that she's your online friend? Brea is doing her job. No notes for Brea, as I've already said.
He then followed up his initial quote with her and said, please keep my family in your prayers.
She's working. She doesn't have time to fucking pray for your stupid ass family.
Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. Like, I'm at work.
He posted another tweet that said, ladies, I'm single, blue heart. I mean, this guy's, like I said, this feels, you think he's 19. I'm like, nope, this sounds like a 38, 39-year-old billionaire son. This is what I'm thinking.
Sorry, say that again. I'm sorry.
This feels right to me.
His Twitter handle was @AudioGuy182 before he again deleted it. So Twitter users were like, Cardi is keeping female rap moving, queen of momentum. And then he got milkshake ducked real quick because he instantly on the 21st. So this happened. The 20th was the OnlyFans. On the 21st, he replied to someone, not adding him at all, saying she is trashy and used a racial slur.
Yep. He dropped an N-bomb and we don't want that.
Nope.
You don't do that ever. So maybe that's why he deleted. I mean, he was saying all kinds of weird things, saying quit tripping in my hood. And then somebody posted like a mansion saying like, is this the hood that you're talking about? Like he needed to stay off the internet like many of us do in times of struggle. We need to stay off the internet. And so now his Twitter's deleted. I'm sure we'll forget about him by next week. I hope maybe he can just go away.
I'll never think of him again.
Wipe your ass with money or whatever billionaires do. But like, keep my family in your prayers. Yes, please. Ugh, gross. I can't. I mean, whatever. Like, oh God, they're fighting each other. They're
single.
They want to fight in the octagon. They want to go down to the ocean. That's how you know that a billionaire shouldn't exist. They're doing things that make no sense.
Yeah.
At this point, because they have everything. You have everything now. You have $1 billion or more, multiple $1 billion. Now there's literally nothing else that they can do, and so it's getting quite medieval with them. And maybe this is what needs to happen. Like maybe this is Darwinism.
Like the Musk and the Elon thing makes me think of. So I'm
Musk and the Elon. You're talking about?
Or sorry,
I mean, they're all the same.
Yeah, they're all. It's just a synonym, you know.
Sure.
But this billionaire feud, you know. Hopefully they get in this cage fight. But I'm listening to this history podcast, and there's a story in medieval India of 2 kings that were like an exchange kind of sultan meeting. And the custom was to stand up and obviously greet each other formally, This one king's coming into the other guy's palace. So, he's expecting the king that owns the palace to stand up, greet him. No. The owner of this palace, this king, sits down on his throne the entire time. He merely extends his hand, like to say, kiss it. So the other king, who's the visitor, comes in, is so insulted, but he picks up the hand, kisses it, and then he turns to his crew, his maidmen, whatever, and he goes, hey, bring me some water so I can wash my hand. Now that's some old timey, like, fuck you shit. Like, these were the billionaires of their time, like these kings, but these guys are just, gonna fight in an octagon. Meanwhile, these guys have subtle diplomacy and fuck you so they could give each other. I just thought that story was amazing. Just I'll touch your hand and then kiss it, but I'm gonna wash my hands afterwards, which obviously was great offense,
So seeing as you're not a billionaire, I hate to blow up your spot.
Don't tell everyone my financial information.
Seeing as you're not a billionaire and you're not hoarding money, what are you hoarding?
Okay, so one of my favorite things about, speaking of this billionaire son that I'll never think of again, hopefully after this episode.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things is when like the Olympics, a major sporting event, or some news story happens, and I discover a person that I knew nothing about and didn't know they existed in any capacity. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I am absolutely obsessed with this person. Like Adam Rippon or something, where you're just like, oh my God, they're amazing. And then you hear all these stories of their past, and like people that have known about them for years are like, oh, well, did you hear about this about them? And then you're like, no, they're my new favorite thing. Just my goldfish brain. I'm obsessed with this thing. I'm going to say this. Winston recently got to meet Mr. Adam Rippon. This was just an example, and he got to hug him. I will tell you how later when I was so upset. But there's this show called Stars on Mars right now on Fox. And it's a reality show where they take like 12 celebrities. They stick them on this base in Australia and say that it's Mars. And they have to act as if they're like truly surviving on Mars. So every week they have like a disaster that happens and they have to do a mission and fix it. Like their food blew up the other day. So they had to do a new, their water broke, whatever.
Okay.
And then each week they vote somebody out and they're like, you're not mission critical. Adam Rippon is on this show. So again, I'm just like really into Adam Rippon right now. But Ariel Winters from Modern Family, she plays one of the daughters on Modern Family. Lance Armstrong is one of the contestants on this show as well. But Ariel Winters, child actor, probably, homeschooled, set-schooled little child, is like, oh my God, we have a real astronaut with us. She thought Lance Armstrong was Neil Armstrong.
Oh boy.
The man. And then she even does like
damn, Neil Armstrong looks good.
She was like, oh my God, is he maybe like going to be like the leader? Like what's going on? We have a real astronaut. And she's telling another, celebrity on. And then I felt so bad because then she got in a confession later and she was like, I almost didn't come on the show because I was afraid I would say something stupid. And then I realized that I thought Lance Armstrong was an astronaut, Neil Armstrong. I was like, oh no, she caught it.
Me, without even realizing that he's actually just a famous trumpet player. Yes. Louis Armstrong,
the most famous astronaut of them all. And so cyclist. The thing about Louis Armstrong, cyclist, astronaut, the Armstrong family, a lot to be proud of.
They've got the plant stores.
Oh God, they're doing so well. Discovering so Stars on Mars, and discovering like somebody that you never heard of and then suddenly making like them your personality for like 2 weeks and then moving on to the next. That's what I'm hoarding.
That's very much you. And I love it about you.
I'm like, have you guys heard of this thing? And then, also I'm immediately an expert on whatever it is. Like
100%.
100%.
You'd be a great lawyer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I Wikipedia. I read like one Wikipedia page and I'm like, basically have a PhD on that.
Got it. Nailed it.
What are you hoarding?
So there's this thing called NaNoWriMo, which is spelled NaNoWriMo. It stands for National Novel Writing Month. And
NaNoWriMo. Yeah.
NaNoWriMo. And so they've got Novel Writing Month is in November, but they have these things called Camp NaNoWriMo, which happen in April and July. And it's the same idea. So here's the basis. In November, this is a free service. It's a free like kind of forum community, but everyone basically agrees, okay, we're all going to write novels this month. We have to get to 50,000 words by the end of November. And that's how you quote win NaNoWriMo. Now they've got camp in April and July, which is a little bit of a looser format of like, maybe you use camp to revise a novel that you've already written, or for a screenplay or a short story, or kind of whatever you want to do, or like, write a novel, whatever. So I am hoarding this because I think I'm going to try it in July, and I'm encouraging our listeners to try it too. Like if you've ever thought about writing a novel, or in this case, because it's camp, a short story, a screenplay, whatever, like it's free. Sign up for Camp NaNoWriMo, and we can be buddies. You put your goals on there, and it's just a lot of people operate better on deadlines. I am one of those people for sure.
Same.
And so, I think that's what I'm hoarding, and I'm going to see it. Let's see how it goes. I might give up in like a week, but I hope I don't. And I I encourage listeners to join me and do it too.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you. We love creativity. What are you throwing out?
I'm throwing away robot dogs.
God
damn it. They will end us. I know there's an episode of Black Mirror where there's like a robot dog hunting people, blah, blah, blah. But like Boston Dynamics, all of that shit, like if the cops get robot dogs, like game over. Like they will take over. I am not into the robotic deliveries. Like I've seen so many of them recently and they all have like little names. Like I'm Ava. My name is Brian. And it's just the little robot.
The dog's name isn't Brian.
But they're like carts or like delivery carts that are robots and they are chugging along the sidewalks of Los Angeles. And then if like an obstacle gets in their way, they have to like figure out how to get around it. I don't like it. They're taking our jobs. Robot dogs will end us. Stop doing this robotic shit. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I don't like it. I'm throwing them out. I think we should stop doing all of this. Like these robot dogs don't quit. They don't get tired. They don't have to rest. They don't have to have food. You can't pet them. Stop it. I hate it. Robotic dogs. We're done. Anyway, maybe I'm just being paranoid, but if billionaires get robotic dogs, they will take over. What are you throwing away?
Summertime colds.
Ugh. Yep.
They're so annoying. What is the deal? I'm sorry. You're going to tell me that we're going to have the grayest spring in history or like the fourth grayest spring since they started measuring how gray a spring could be.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a cold that's going to go around when like we can't enjoy it because we have the sniffles. You want me to eat soup when it's 75 out? I can't. Horrible. I have no time for this. Yeah. This time last year, I had COVID and it sucked. Oh. And now my beloved has a cold and there was a part of me that was like, you and I don't sleep in the same room because I don't want this negativity. And then I missed him. So then I was like, whatever, I'm your ride or die. We'll go down together. But I'm talking to more people and I was like, oh yeah, something's going around. Why? Stop. Quit leaving the house if you don't feel good.
And wear a goddamn mask. Like it doesn't just have to be to prevent COVID. You can wear a mask. Like I went tanning the other day at my tanning spot, my spray tan, and the guy working, no mask, and was like, sorry, I just have a cold. And I'm like, why are you at work? And why don't you have a mask on then? Like we can see your arms are tan. It's fine. Don't be here.
It's complicated, like if you don't go to work, you don't get paid, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. Fine. I don't know what to say. I don't have the answers. I just wish this wasn't happening. I don't want to have a cold right now. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice outside. And yes, if you don't feel good, and you have to go out, pop a mask on. We know it's annoying. I don't like to wear masks at all. But if I'm sick and I have to leave, I don't know, dude. This just sucks. Apparently this one's a quick cold, but what does that even mean?
What does that even mean?
So I'm throwing out summertime colds. I think that it's a cruel form of nature. I think it's a conspiracy.
Yeah. Who's doing it?
The billionaires.
God damn it. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Okay. You can find me at Iconic Erica Curry on Instagram, on TikTok. I think that's all I want to be found. Yeah, that's where you can find me. What about you?
You can find me on the Trashy podcast. I was public again on Instagram for about 3 hours and then I got grossed out and I went private again. Damn. I'm going crazy. So you can find me on the Trashy podcast. Where do you find that? You may ask. Wherever you find podcasts. I mean, how are you listening to it right now? Oh, but will you tell a friend, please? We really appreciate that. That helps us out a lot. Like if you think that you have a friend who maybe is watching too much CNN or something like that, and you're like, girl, take a break. You don't have to wean them off of news completely, but
no.
Why don't you listen to these gals? Because I like them. And maybe you'll like them too. Like that would be so great. They can find us at Trashy Trashy Pod on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok. You can find our website, trashytrashypodcast.com. We've got a Gmail, trashytrashypodcast@gmail, where you can send us stories or why you're trash. Give us a 5-star review. God, that helps so much. And we just love you. We have the best little trash cans in the world.
We love you, baby trash cans. It truly is. I was just looking at our, pod on the stats, and we have 100+ reviews and a 4.9 rating, and that's because of you. And we appreciate it so much. So if you haven't left a review, please do so and tell a friend. It helps so much. Also, use code TRASHY anytime you try to check out.
In general?
Just in general, yeah. I don't care if you're
see what happens
on Lord and Taylor or oldnavy.com. Just be like, oh, what does this do?
Just see because maybe they'll start to go, why do people keep using Trashy?
And then they'll find us.
And then they'll find us. And that's really great too.
Yeah.
I will make a promise right now though. Because if you're a longtime listener and you're like, these bitches have ads now, I will make a promise. I'm not doing an ad for something I don't like.
No, we'll never promote something that we don't use or believe in.
And I'm not just saying that. I mean it. Erica knows. I turn down shit. Not that she's presenting things that I don't like very often, but she knows that I say no sometimes. And I know that Erica says no.
I got integrity. You cannot buy me. That's why you can find us on Twitter. Elon Musk Twitter. Trashy Pod.
All right, cut the shit out. Shh, quiet.
Hey, Cass.
What's going on, girl?
Stay garbage.
You stay garbage, girl.
I will. Bye-bye.
If I had $1 billion, I don't know.
If I had $1 billion.